The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest today is Mayor Barb Clumpus of Meaford. And it's always a pleasure to have Barb because who knows what's going on in Meaford except the mayor. Barb, welcome back. Good to see you.
Thanks so much, David. Great to see you again. It's been a long absence. I was just looking at the last time we chatted, and it was in May.
Exactly. Yes, we're still, of course, we had that little thing called an election in the meantime, which kind of threw all of our schedules off because we're required by the CRTC not to do anything but equal opportunity broadcasts, during an election period. So I'm sorry, Barb, but as a municipal politician, you have to play second fiddle for a little while.
a position I'm very comfortable with.
Really, I didn't know that. But things are certainly happening in Meaford. It's been a busy summer, but it's been a busy fall, and we'll get right into that in a moment. But I just wanted to acknowledge that that our condolences are sent to the family of Rob Potter, Deputy Mayor of Town of Blue Mountains, who has been a guest on the show. Our sympathies go to the Town of Blue Mountains community, the council, and of course his family. And he was an experienced politician, as I recall.
And a wonderful man. And I'm glad you mentioned that, David, because I wanted to begin with that as well. I knew Rob not well, certainly through county interactions and being a neighbor at the Town of Blue Mountains. But I did take the opportunity this morning to read all about him in the Sun-Times, and he leaves a remarkable legacy. Thoroughly enjoyed reading all about his achievements and his activities. How he had time to be sick and all of that, I have no idea. It really, he is remarkable, and he will be greatly missed.
Yes, he will be. It's the kind of void that when you lose an experienced politician while in office, that takes a little extra. It's one thing to lose someone in political life who is not in office or has retired from politics, but in office it's a little bit different. So, and just to remind folks, there is a proper process by which his successor will be named, and that is certainly the work of the Town of Blue Mountains, but that will come in time. In time.
Yes. Condolences from the municipality of Meaford to his family and to our colleagues at TBM Council and all of those who have worked and loved and been with him through his various endeavors with their community.
Yes, he also, I mean, Mayor Soever himself has had some health challenges, and Rob stepped up and stepped into that position as well. So yes, he will be missed. He will be missed indeed.
For sure.
Well, as you said, it's been a while since we have talked. Meaford is things. I think the last time we talked about new subdivisions on the west side of Meaford. We talked about lots of construction happening, but I'm sure there's been a summer of construction, right?
Well, we've all become accustomed to that in this northern climate. I use that loosely. There's only two seasons we know about, and one is winter, the other is construction. So it has been a challenge once again for all of our businesses in the area. But thankfully that finished, and I just have to commend our team and construction workers for finishing off our Sykes Street construction project a month early, which is phenomenal in this day and age. And we're very, very pleased with that because, of course, it opened up that business community significantly. And they have been hard pressed over these 18, 19, 20 months of the pandemic to keep the wolf away from their door. So hopefully they can get back onto an even keel again with the Christmas activities.
Well, I think, isn't there an equation that you use when you're doing construction? On time, on budget, and on design, or something like that. So it sounds to come in at early is a remarkable feat, especially in these days of material shortages, because
Certainly
often the supply chain is rather bent, and it's hard to get things on time. So congratulations.
It is that, yeah. They worked very, very hard. And one of the reasons that we made the decision to close that center piece of Sykes Street entirely. Had it been one lane open, as was the other option, it might have helped in some regard, but it would have delayed the process significantly. So that was kind of do we do it this way or do we do it the other way? And the decision was made, and I think folks are now very pleased with the way that's happened. The other construction, of course, that has been going on the same time was our Bayfield Street shoreline reconstruction. The severe winds and high waves and high water that we've had over the last couple of years have wreaked destruction on the shoreline all along that beautiful Bayfield Drive. And we were fortunate enough to get, again, financial help from the province to help us reconstruct that whole area. And they've done just a beautiful job of placing the boulders and shoring up that shoreline that will make it safe for years to come.
And with the water levels receding, it's also that's also an additional benefit. But as we all know, with climate change, you can never bank on anything, as our friends in BC are noting right now.
Experiencing today, yes. Yes, and we should also extend our condolences as municipalities who may be suffered with similar fates throughout our country. Our heart certainly goes out to those in BC who are experiencing severe weather.
Yes, I saw one picture this morning of where a river had basically taken out a highway, but it left a railway bridge intact. So the rail line's fine, but the highway's gone. And I noticed in BC that the three main highways out of Vancouver are all cut. There is, and it will be probably several days before they get back in order. So it at least one of them gets back in order. So it's the impact of climate change is dire.
Yeah. It certainly is, because we all know how long constructions, particularly for the safety of travelers on roadways, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a significant project that is just it's going to be devastating for that area.
Well, we'll I think it all keeps the whole idea of climate change and impact on municipal infrastructure in the forefront of our thinking these days. Do you have those kinds of conversations at the county level?
Well, certainly. I mean, roads being the county roads are certainly very much in the forefront at the county level as well. Thankfully, we've not experienced any major disasters on those roadways, but and several of our colleagues around the basin of the Georgian Bay have had problems with soil erosion and with weather affecting their shorelines as well. It is a topic of conversation that has certainly been very prevalent over the last couple of years.
Sure. And there is a new, we have interviewed her on this show. There's a new staff person at the county responsible for climate change matters. And so we look forward certainly to hearing more about these issues as time progresses, to be sure.
Yes, and so will we.
I'm sure you are. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a consultation that is coming up in the very near future as well. But that'll be our next conversation with the warden. So not to worry, we won't that won't come off the agenda, to be sure.
No, it certainly won't. Top of mind.
And
we also had a lot of end of work over this summer, David, since we last talked. And I know we've talked extensively about our library and about our school and how that's all coming together. And it has just been such a treat to finally open the doors to the public and our library this summer with the restrictions that have been lifted, because we've all done so well in terms of adhering to the health protocols and wearing masks and vaccinations and so on. So we did have an opportunity in October to thank the sponsors, the many sponsors and the very generous donors to the build for our new library, and showcase it to all of those who have their names proudly on a room in the library, and had a chance to see the inner workings of our beautiful, wonderful new library. That was certainly was a long anticipated and a very exciting afternoon. And then, of course, watching all the kids go off to school after Labor Day to our brand new school went flawlessly. Everything worked very, very well. I've had a tour of the new school, and it truly is amazing. It's going to prove, I think, a wonderful experience to have all grades from JK through to 12 on one site. It is a community school, and I got to meet the new principal, Mr. Wilson, and he's actually joining us on another committee that we have through our municipality. So very, very happy to have his expertise join us on that. And we just look so forward to more interaction between the municipality and our brand new school, and making that cohesive link with the health and safety of our students, and moving ahead some of the activities and programs of our in our municipality for young people.
Yes, I was going to say that those two projects, the library and the new school, have been a part of our conversations over the last couple of years as well. And it's always a pleasure to see something rise up out of the ground, or in the case of the library, be repurposed. Because although I don't shop in Meaford, I'm sure you do, and mm-hmm. to remember the last time you walked down the what was a grocery store, the grocery store aisle, and now, hey, there's a novel I want to read, or there's a book I want to take a look at. Quite a nice repurposing of a community of a private facility to a community facility.
Yes, you would never guess that it was a former food event, grocery store. It truly is, and it's more than just books. It is a welcome place for all of the newcomers in our community to come and find out what's happening here. You can take out more than just books. There's magazines, and my husband loves to go and sit in the sun in that great expansive window and read the morning newspaper, the Globe and Mail. And so there's movies. There's even a fishing rod and net that you can our visitors can take out and use for an afternoon. Snowshoes have been available in the past over the winter. It really and truly is more than just books, although they certainly are prevalent. Those hard copy books as well as ebooks as well.
And of course, I'm sure there are computers available for the public to use.
Computers for use, private meeting rooms, gathering places for students. There's a room solely for students to with computers and high-tech equipment to do their homework and develop their projects. Well used.
There'll be a children's section as well with children's programming.
Children's programming, yes, of course, story hours, and everything in a bright and airy, just a wonderful open space connected to the outdoors. I'm not sure if we mentioned this. I'm sure I wouldn't have thought to mention this, but there is an outdoor connection too. We have several bright red, huge Muskoka chairs to settle around an outdoor fire pit. So on those days that warranted fire on and sit by the fire with a book, couldn't be better.
Do they provide marshmallows?
Might be the next step.
Okay. And hot chocolate. You never know.
And hot chocolate, of course.
You never
of course.
know. One of the things about a changing community is that it is always changing, but it's also growing. And one of the things I have noted across both Gray and Bruce is that we are seeing a lot of new development. And when I'm talking about development, I'm not talking about a few homes, infill, what they call infill development in vacant lots. I'm talking about dedicated subdivisions with 200, 400, 600 units over a period of time, but that's the goal. So this is huge changes that are happening.
No kidding. We've anticipated this for many, many years. We've known we're going to be inundated, that growth is going to hit us, and it has, like a tsunami at times. And there are a number of very large projects underway. But a key indicator of this for council was on Monday night. We had an update on the building permits that to date, and up until the end of October, 97 million, which is by far the largest number that we've ever seen. The end of year last year, the number was 42 or 47 million. So you can tell just from the number of building permits that have been taken out in our area that development is here and here to stay for a while.
Now, where's the development happening?
I'm sorry?
Where's the development happening?
Well, I just give you an update on some of the projects that have been happening. Our People Care, our long-term care facility on Cook Street, very, very exciting property. And it is coming along very nicely on schedule, expected to open in 2023. Certainly, they've broken ground. Their walls are up, the second story walls are up, and it's looking great. There will be additional seniors housing, retirement, and independent living in a campus of care, again, situated on that property. And that is in the planning stages as we speak now. Also along Cook Street is 11 townhomes that are very nearing completion. They are up and bricked on the outside. I have one remaining to complete that 11 number. And they were all sold immediately before building began. Again, another indication of how quickly growth is happening in this area. There's another project on the Meaford Golf Course. It is under construction with 40 units in there as well. We talked some time ago about a boutique hotel on Boucher Street with 5 longer short-term stays available, and that is completed the construction part. It's now just the finishing off and the outer landscaping and interior work that is being done there. Another large, very large, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Loon Call, which we have talked about, our attainable housing project on Sykes Street. And that is poised to get underway very, very soon. The demolition has occurred on that property. And across Sykes Street, or the highway from that, is a development called Meaford Haven. And we've just, council has just granted another extension for that property. We've been anticipating that property to get underway shortly, but they've had some change in ownership. And so that will be moving along as well. In town, we have the SkyDev proposal, which is on the that triangular property bordered by Fuller and Boucher Street, and of course the shoreline. of the Bay. And that has had a second iteration of their site plan. And we've had a second public meeting last week on that. Heard from many of the same folks with similar concerns. But from what we saw with the second iteration of the plan is that the company tried hard to listen. Well, they did listen very, very well, and tried to accommodate many of the concerns of the residents around. Of course, the big one is the density of the project. And this is something that all of us are going to have to contend with, because it's the only way that you can increase growth on within the urban areas as is prescribed by the province. Is by increasing the number of homes that are built on existing infrastructure. That speaks volumes to efficiency and cost effectiveness as well.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the things that people may or may not realize, and this is where our planners, particularly at the county, have been very effective, is to remind us that you can't have entirely single-family homes everywhere. That the provincial planning statements, or PPSs as they are called, do say, if you're going to grow, you have to increase your density. And that may mean going up. It may be reducing sizes, but that increased density for more people is actually a more efficient way to serve the needs of people, because by more people, you can have more things like transit. You can have you're focusing on things like walking or bicycles or those kinds of other things, and perhaps getting people out of their vehicles. So it's those provincial planning statements are very, very important. And I don't think people realize how important they really are.
And what it means. And of course, coming in a small urban setting like ours, we don't have a lot of multi-units and residential units, but it is really important. We need housing. This is the single largest challenge we are facing, is to accommodate housing for all. And different types of diversity in housing as well. So townhomes, apartments, condominiums, of course, and rentals are all very, very important. And we're going to have to explore other areas as well. I recall several years ago, we were getting very excited about the concept of tiny homes, and that may not have been top of mind at the moment, but we do need to be looking at various different kinds of opportunities to provide housing, because the housing market is just skyrocketing. It's the resales that we've experienced last year and the year before, phenomenal, and it is showing no signs of slowing down on that either. So we can't be pricing ourselves out of the market, and we have to find homes for our folks to live in, the ones that we want to be able to take the jobs that are available here, to bring entrepreneurs into the community, and to expand our workforce appropriately.
It's interesting that you mentioned the tiny homes, because there are two developments that I'm aware of, one in Ottawa and one in Kitchener, I think, where they are developing communities of tiny homes. And it'll be interesting to see how they develop and what the longer term prognosis is. But one of the things I in a previous conversation with one of the county planners was that here on the show was that what they've noticed over the last few years is not just growth, but a changing demographic accelerated by COVID. That we are seeing more people who are coming out of the GTA and settling here, and how can I say it? They choose to live here, which is a good thing. but it also has a bit of a downside, but it's generally a good thing. And how is Meaford working with that? Are you seeing the effects of the GTA, the GTHAX?
Certainly, the predominant buyer market comes from the larger urban centers, whether it's GTA or the KW Kitchener-Waterloo area. And, we have seen a lot of our seasonal residents move up and winterize or use their seasonal homes as now their permanent residence. This also, to speak about the impact and the consequences of this, it increased significantly the number of new students arriving for the first week of school in our brand new school. So I recall at the very beginning of when we were talking about building this new school, that it would be a school for 1,000 students. Well, we've quickly surpassed that. In the very first week of school, there were 1,100 students that were registered. And that's significant when you think of what that means in terms of how many more classes do you have to bring into the school and how many more teachers do you have to hire in that transitional period. And so it's certainly been noticed. It's been felt for sure. Not as much perhaps as in terms of Thornbury, our neighbors to the east, because they had a larger percentage of their population were seasonal residents. And so they're seeing a much larger impact, I guess, from those seasonal residents becoming permanent residents.
Well, and I've said this on air before, I'm seeing it all across Grey County and
Yes.
Bruce County, certainly in Southgate and Grey Highlands. People who live around Eugenia are saying, there are no seasonal homes there anymore. Everyone has migrated out and they're living there year round. But
then they're discovering that they can work from home, that this is, became a necessity during the pandemic. Now it's going to be a lifestyle choice.
Exactly. And I know people who've had seasonal homes in Meaford and, but on the back lines. And they've said, no, we're out of Toronto. We're out of the Toronto area. We're going to move up here, and they've settled in and are enjoying it. So it's but the interesting thing was that it has also changed the level of engagement that citizens have, because people are interested in what's going on. And so it'll be interesting to see it, dare I say it, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next municipal election. We won't go there.
We've all had those thoughts. Yeah,
I'm sure.
But it is welcoming to see, and very exciting to see the level of participation and the level of engagement, as you say, with our newcomers coming in. They are excited about their new home. They love it here. That's why they're here. They've chosen to be here, and they want to get involved. It's a way of meeting other like-minded individuals and getting engaged and finding out what makes us tick here. Sure.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, Barb, and we're going to come back because, we've got lots more to talk about. We always do. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
The world's most famous Canadian, Grey Owl, just back from a triumphant British tour, is to be a reluctant guest at a gathering of First Nations.
Archie, you may not realize this, but right now you are the most famous Red Indian in the world. These are your people. You have to be there. Come on, Harold. Let's go.
Sure, I'm sure. His name is Archie Bellini, and if he's a Red Indian, I'm the King of China.
It is an honor to meet the man called Grey Owl, who has brought much respect for our people.
Imposter, rascal, dreamer. And yet the Englishman who called himself Grey Owl awoke the whole world to our vanishing wilderness.
My brother says, men become what they dream. You have dreamed well.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest is Mayor Barb Clumpus of Meaford, and it's always a pleasure to hear what's going on in Meaford because there always is something going on in Meaford. Barb, good to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Now, there has been some, if there is a word that arouses people's feelings here in Grey Bruce, and I'm not talking just about Meaford, but across Grey Bruce, it is parking. If you talk about parking and you talk about any kind of parking, it just sort of escalates the level of the conversation to sometimes very, very passionate. And you've had that conversation, those conversations about parking in Meaford recently. What's that all about?
Well, David, one of the things that the pandemic, I guess, brought on us, so we've always enjoyed our tourists who have come up and spent time with us over the summer, our campers in Memorial Park and elsewhere. And it's been, it has been manageable for certain. This past, 2 years now have taught us a lot of things. And there's a lot of people on the move, people looking to escape, and people wanting the experience of beaches and outdoors and the tourist attractions that we have. And so last year we entered into a pilot project for a 1-year term to look at requiring parking for out-of-town visitors in the Memorial Park area only. The concept was to go broader, but we settled on Memorial Park just to see how it would work out. And as a result, there were the 2 seasonal enforcement officers that were hired to assist with the transition and with educating our visitors on the why and of paid parking in that area, and also they were also very instrumental, I think, looking at the success rate and the stories that we've heard, and my personal experiences of seeing these seasonal workers on bicycles in the area, enforcement area, and encouraging people to understand why we were charging $10 a day for out-of-town visitors to come in. This was for the day. And what it does is it provides revenue for the extra services that are required to keep the washrooms up to grade, and the expectations of tidiness and that there is room there. The pilot project showed that some folks were not willing to pay for parking and went elsewhere. But that also then increased the use of other parks and beaches that we have, the Governor General or David Johnson Beach, for example, at the harbor. And the use of the harbor was another area where overflow parking was, significantly increased over the year. So recently there was a proposal by staff was brought forward to council to increase this program, to continue it, first of all, and make it a permanent program at Memorial Park. Just for the simple reason of the expectation that from our residents now of the services provided there warrants it. Otherwise, it would mean that the cost of maintaining those expectations would be borne by our taxpayers. And there's some inequality there. Obviously, parking is a way of life for many, parking charges, I mean, a way of life for many folks who live in larger cities. And it's often a challenge. And more of our colleagues in municipal politics are finding that this is a way that they can generate some revenue to help with managing the expectations of tourists and to the extra services that are required to maintain that whole area. So, the expectations of frequently cleaned washrooms and organized parking and even capacity at the beach. It's all important to provide a quality of experience that is very important to us. And so we will be pursuing this to the next level, at least bringing it back for a final decision on how we expand or whether we stick with just the one area in Memorial Park. That will all be coming forward at our next council meeting to make that decision further.
Yes, certainly it's a kind of rock on a hard place situation because people do expect to find clean washrooms. They expect not to see a bunch of garbage overflowing the waste containers. Citizens like to be proud of their community, but that comes at a cost. Who pays the piper, so to speak? Is it going to be the taxpayers who live in the municipality, or is it going to be, do you expand the circle a bit to have the people who are making use of it for the day or whatever, contribute a share?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it in a nutshell, and said very well. And this is the dilemma. Of course, it's you don't really want to get into that situation, but it is. I think it is a fact of life that these areas are expected. The service level is expected, and council has approved that service level. So it's very difficult to go back on that service level. The other thing that I was very intrigued and pleased to see in the staff report was the level of engagement of our seasonal enforcement officers that were there. They actually became ambassadors for our municipality. I'm sure they were asked for directions, and they were a presence there, provided the security, provided somebody to go to, somebody to talk to, and I think that their role and their guidance in how to pay and the background of why this is necessary contributed greatly to the experience, and we had very little complaint about from folks who actually took advantage of Memorial Park over the summer and camped out there for the day.
Now, the people, the seasonal workers, were they from the community itself?
Yes.
Because one of the things I have learned over time is that if you're in a community that you don't know, if you're talking to someone who is local, who knows the community and can say, if you really want some really good French fries, or if you look hot, if you want some really nice, I can tell you where to get some good ice cream. Those kinds of encouragements are worth gold, because people, they noticed, and they're right, they're great French fries, or it's fabulous ice cream, or whatever. And because you're talking to someone who knows, because off the bat, like you said, they become an ambassador, and
they're welcoming to the community. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, and see what the reaction is. There will be one of the things that was proposed in this was that parking be required at the harbor as well, and the David Johnson Park, and the $10 daily ticket took you to either one of those three. But we're going to have to look at special events that have taken place at the harbor. And so that certainly will be something that will be considered. How do we manage that? Because we don't want to lose for example, our farmers market, and when we can get back to the fish fries and all of the family fun that has happened at the harbor in years past. There's a lot still to work out and to make this a pleasant experience for everyone.
It's funny, I was down at the Eugenia Conservation Area recently before it was closed for the winter. And there were people who were there just to look at the falls and do some hiking. Mm-hmm. And first thing they did when they got out of their car was out comes the smartphone, over to this parking sign, pay their money, and there's a second nature.
Sure.
It's kind of interesting.
It's very easy now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. And I think that, as you rightly point out, it's something that municipalities have to struggle with and deal with. And so we will watch carefully. And I'm sure that's the conversation. The next time you and I talk, might be even more conversation.
That'll be the conversation. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to something that I think is really interesting, and that when I say it's interesting is because where I live here in Owenstown, we used to, but we can't anymore, recycle styrofoam. But you're doing it.
Well, yes, and this is again another pilot project that was begun over the summer, and it was thanks to a volunteer organization. This is, excuse me, David. This is run by a volunteer organization called Transition Meaford, and they've taken this challenge on. And so they open up the Stewart Street location that used to house our e-waste transfer station on the second Saturday of the month. And this past Saturday, November 13th, from 9 to 12 was the last day that we've had the styrofoam, but it will continue monthly. And it is for block expanded polystyrene only at this point. But it's there are big containers there, and folks can come and drop off their polystyrene waste, and rather than have it go into the garbage as it has in the past. Now, if it goes into the garbage, it requires a bag tag, which is another incentive to just keep it in your garage for a bit until the second Saturday of the month comes, and then recycle it.
Sure. Well, it's good to see, because the more we can do this, the better off we will be. And I know there's now, Meaford Hall is back in action.
And my goodness, has it been missed? This was our large part of our socialization in years past. I mean, they were well on their way to many, many sold out performances before the pandemic, and then of course had to shut down. And this was hard on their bottom line, as well as the performers who have really suffered, I think, tremendously over this period of time. But with the proof of vaccination required and following protocols, obviously keeping your distance and wearing masks within the Opera House itself, we are at full capacity for Meaford Hall, which is great. I've been able to attend a couple of performances, and oh my goodness, it feels good to be back in my regular seats and with everyone around us and people we haven't seen for months and months. It was just great. But we've got some wonderful highlights coming on. Mark Jordan is coming November the 18th, that's this week, and Ian Thomas on December the 1st. The Washboard Union is coming on January the 28th, and it's selling out very quickly. Brass Transit Tribute to Chicago is coming March the 12th, and Matt Anderson, who has been with us many times before, on March the 19th, but he's sold out already. Very exciting stuff. But another one that is equally exciting, Sarah Harmer is coming on March the 21st. But their tickets for that show will be available on November the 17th. So that's the next little bit of the lineup coming, but we've just come through a couple of performances. The Meaford Dragons happened this year in person, which was wonderful, sponsored by, again, the Meaford Chamber of Commerce. And that was last week. And of course, it was the usual format. We had 5 dragons, some of whom were the former winners of this event. And they provided the funding and mentorship as prizes to 5 local dragon slayers. These young entrepreneurs came out to tell us about their ideas and to woo the dragons into parting with some of their money and to help them move their great idea along. This show, David, we've talked about it before. It's modeled after the CBC's Dragon's Den, and it has encouraged to date 55 startup and business expansions, which is pretty phenomenal, and has injected over $230,000 in cash and prizes into our community. So we did have a winner this year, Stillfields Brewery on the third line was the big winner at $14,275 in cash and other prizes. And I just want to give a shout out to the Meaford Hall staff who have struggled through this event, getting these events back in our hall, and all of our other staff who have tried to bring back the normal that we knew with a little different twist perhaps this year. Box office is available now for tickets at 519-538-0043, or you can shop online at ticket@meaford.ca. And that's the lineup from Meaford Hall. Wonderful. We also, of course, as you know, David, hold our council meetings in the Opera House as well.
Well, dare I say that Meaford Hall would make a great stocking stuffer. Tickets would make a great stocking stuffer for those who are looking for something for Christmas.
No kidding. Good idea. Good plug.
Just to go back to what you said about Meaford Council, you were online, but you are back in person now?
We are, yes. It's not the intimate setting as we've had on the 7th line in our council chambers, but we can do this. We now have our council meetings and our regular planning meetings as well. And again, it's based on proof of vaccination for visitors to come in. We certainly encourage public participation. Folks can participate in the council meetings either online or in person. We ask that they get in touch with the clerk's office on the day of the council meeting if they have a deputation on an item on the agenda, or they can call for the clerk's office again to make a presentation to council. And those can be done in person. We also have the capability, because we are in Meaford Hall, to have phone-in participation as well. So that's helpful. And of course, it's live streamed, and Rogers TV films it for viewing on, I believe, on Tuesday after a council meeting. So there's lots of ways that folks can participate and be engaged in the process. And we certainly welcome folks to attend. We did have a sizable public meeting last week on the SkyDev proposal in the urban area. There was probably 60 people in attendance. We had 30 speakers registered to speak on the topic. So it is working, and people come in with wearing masks and maintain the protocols, for which we're very grateful. That keeps us all healthy.
Sure. And it's good to see that if there's a side effect to COVID, it's that councils are becoming much more engaged in reaching out to electors, but also more aware that people can watch, not just on television, but virtually using the internet, and as you've outlined, engage council directly using the phone-in capability, but also do things, increase your level of civic engagement, I guess is what I'm really talking about.
Yes, and we love to see that. We want to see that engagement. We're happy to hear from folks. We do hear frequently over the, through email and phone calls and that kind of thing. But it is really important that to see the level of engagement as we go through the formal process of council meetings. It is a formal occasion. We do have a prescribed process, and it helps us feel that, to know that people are engaged, they're understanding, they're able to hear firsthand how the debate goes and how the information is presented. We really value this time of public engagement.
Speaking of public engagement, do you have citizen involvement in municipal committees, the committees of council?
Yes, we do.
And does some municipalities are continue to seek volunteers? Do you have do people respond to those places in Meaford, those opportunities in Meaford as well?
They certainly do. We've just, our latest one was the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and we had a tremendous outpouring of interest in that advisory committee. So that's been established. The latest one we just heard from, and this is unusual in my experience, and certainly was very impressive. The work that these three folks did we had created a citizens committee to look at remuneration for council members. And this work that they presented to council on Monday was very, very well done. It was done entirely by those three individuals and volunteers. And then they presented their results to council for their information on Monday night. So it's this kind of public engagement that brings people with specific skills into work on a specific task. This one was the task force. It's over now. They've completed their work very admirably, and that is finished. But they took their job very seriously. They interviewed all of the council's members. They looked carefully at 17 colleagues, communities of similar size and scope, that kind of thing. The information that they pulled together was really quite astounding and very well presented.
I think it's worth mentioning and underlining that these three people, these three citizens, came to their recommendations and conclusions independently without any input from the council itself until the final report was presented. And people sometimes get a little grouchy about politicians and money, but at the same time, I think it's very helpful to remember that whatever was recommended was done at arm's length, and that's the proper way to do it.
Very much so. It is a prerequisite that council must review the remuneration once in every term of office. And at the very onset of this existing term, we determined that the fair way to do it would be in the third year of this term to have a citizens review committee have a look at this independently and for them to come forward with recommendations so that because it would be, it is an awkward position for one to be recommending a raise or to even discuss that remuneration. And so this was what happened, and it was very impressive how it worked out, completely independent, with the exception of, this is part of the research that was done, was interviewing each and every one of the council members with a significant and comprehensive list of questions. Really had to think about them. So it was a very, very positive experience.
Well, let's move on to something more seasonal, Barb, because I'm looking forward to the Meaford Santa Claus Parade and doing Oh, it's great. It's great. It's a great little parade, and it's a great great evening. And I've learned from our producer that I'll actually be inside and watching. We're changing our setup, but I should. But Dan Wilson and I should be inside, being able to stay warm.
Stay warm. Yes.
Stay warm. But it's always a good parades. But there's lots of things that are happening in this Christmas season in Meaford.
Well, it kicks off on December the 4th, and that's a traditional day. We light the Christmas tree starting at 6 p.m. at the Meaford Hall Garden, and then the parade takes over. It's usually starts about 6:30 on down Sykes Street, and but leading up to that, there's a lot of family fun activities. We have a scavenger hunt at the library and decorations for the kids to make. There's a chili competition, which we always look forward to, judging the best recipe for chili. There will be window judging. It's not really a window unveiling anymore, as much as it is because the windows are decorated to begin the season. And so window judging can take place from November the 13th to December the 3rd, just before the big day on December the 4th, when the winner will be announced. So during the festivities on Saturday, December the 4th, there will be hot chocolate and apple cider, of course, and popcorn to munch on. We have some displays that are going on. The Mutable Arts is going to be displaying in one of the windows, Personally Yours window in the downtown area. Our sponsors, again, are the BIA, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Olivet Baptist Church, Christ Church Anglican, the Kinsman Club, of course, and the Meaford Library and local businesses. So we sure hope folks come out and that the weather holds for us. The light sprinkling of snow always adds a bit to the festivities, and come out and enjoy the kickoff to a Shop Local campaign. Let's keep kindness in our hearts all season long, but particularly at this season of the year. And remember our local shops and shopkeepers, and shop local. Have a local Christmas this year.
Very good point, Barb, because I know that our business people, our Main Street business people, have done their very best to stay as open as they possibly can within all the limitations, and they certainly appreciate the trade that we can bring in this festive season.
No kidding. Come out and check out our new shops in town as well. That is going to be exciting to see. This will be a first Christmas for some of our new shops, and it's a great way to get introduced to our community.
Well, Barb, I want to thank you for joining me today on Politically Speaking. It's always good to hear what's happening in beautiful downtown Meaford. No, in Meaford, because it's obviously bigger than downtown, but always good to hear what's happening, and always good to be in conversation with you. And thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Gavin Bryant, centerman with the Owen Sound Attack. Catch great OHL action on Rogers TV as we bring you Owen Sound Attack games live, both home and away.
Get your courtside seats at home with NBA League